What's going on, everybody? My name's Jerome, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Influencers Impact. I just want to thank you guys so much for all the constant support and encouragement throughout this journey. It's been absolutely amazing. So please continue to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this channel is filled with interviews that I'll be having with Christian artists and creatives who are making a huge impact within their industry. And at this time, we're going to have an interview that I had exclusively with Dan Rivera from SEU Worship. SEU Worship is located in Southeastern University, and they just released their brand new single, Rhythm, which you can find linked in the description below. Now I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this video.
Hey,
Hey, dude, what's going on, man?
not much. Just
Yeah.
hanging. Yeah,
Is it warm where you're at?
it's very warm. Yeah, it's like bright and shining sun. I'm kind of near the beach in South Florida.
Dang, man.
I know.
I wish. I just saw the sunlight coming through. I'm like, this guy must be somewhere warm.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So is it Dan Rivera?
Yeah,
I said it right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, first off, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me on live. I really appreciate it, but kind of keeping it casual. There's nothing too hard. But I did want to ask you just a couple of questions, if that's okay with you. Again, you can answer whatever you want to answer. If there's something that is too much for you, we'll pass it.
If I don't like it, it would be like, nah.
Yeah, that's right. We'll just be like, no, we're not part of this. But I'll keep it short at the beginning. Do you play any instruments at all?
Yeah. I play guitar. Mostly.
Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of my main instrument, and then I like to say I play all the other rock and roll ones too. Like,
Are you a drummer?
I can mess around with the drums. I wish I was an actual drummer. Do you have something that you kind of like wish you were really good at, and also like if you had the time, you would have got good at?
Yeah.
What's your thing?
So right now I'm hoping I can change that. So I'm a drummer. I've been playing since I was 10. But I'm hoping, like, my thing is I always wanted to play guitar, and I just started teaching myself acoustic. Now I'm really rough. Like I'm learning chords as I go, but that's the thing that I just want to be really good at, but I don't know if it's going to happen for me.
Let's go, bro. Let's do it.
So
Pick it up.
We'll see.
It's a lot of fun. What's great about the acoustic is you can, we had some family over the other night, and you just whip it out and start playing old songs, and it's just the best for that kind of thing. But the drums on stage, there's nothing like just rocking it out.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. So I guess guitar would probably be your number one favorite instrument of all the ones.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to get some lessons from you.
I'm game, bro.
Yeah,
we can do it right now.
I wish, man. I wish. But we'll probably have to do another one. Then we'll teach me how to play guitar. So you are a pastor, is that right?
Yes.
And / songwriter for SEU Worship. I'll make sure I said that right. Awesome. Okay. So one of the questions that I had kind of gearing towards there was, did you always want to be a pastor? Was that always something at the forefront of your mind?
No. I think if you meet someone who always wanted to be a pastor, God bless them. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've always been a very, very reluctant minister and pastor, and that I always felt, well, so I grew up in a pastor's home.
Okay.
My mom and dad are pastors, and they just served their face off, man. They love people so well and built this meaningful but small community of believers and radical worshipers. And I just always saw the sacrifice in it. And selfishly, growing up, I always thought I wanted to do something. Growing up, I always thought I wanted to do something that would maybe, like, I'd be a part of the church, but wouldn't really go full after it,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it wasn't until I was actually getting ready to drop out of college. And then I was in this gymatorium in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. You know what a gymatorium? You know about that?
No, what's that?
That's like when it's a gymnasium,
Okay.
but it's a summer camp, and they like convert it to an auditorium.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, yeah. I think
So
I've actually been part of that. I just never called it that.
yeah, so they just sound terrible,
Yeah,
and it smells like PE class or whatever.
yeah.
And I was playing guitar for this and leading worship actually for this camp, and so I was always involved doing it, and I was writing songs even early on. But eventually, but then in that Georgia gymatorium, I
Hmm.
felt like the Lord spoke to me in a prayer service and called me into full-time ministry. So then I went back to Southeastern, where I'm at now,
Hmm.
college, and decided to study, ministry
Yeah.
and pursue it. And I actually wanted to be a church planner.
Oh,
Like
wow.
that's what my heart was, to do church planning ministry. But God kept opening the doors for music. Kind of kept following that, and felt like that's where I've heard someone say once, where God opens the doors, where the blessing is. It's like
Hmm.
if He keeps opening the doors for you,
Yeah, yeah,
that could
yeah.
be a good sign just to keep walking in that. So that's sort of what I ended up doing, and here I am now, doing it with my
Yeah.
life, I guess.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
That's really cool. I think even like I'm a pastor as well, and if you were to tell me, I don't know, 8 years ago I would be in ministry, I would have said you're lying.
yeah,
Because I wanted to be an actor, and I didn't really have any resources or money to make it to Toronto, where they kind of where acting's really more of a thing in Ontario, in
mm-hmm.
Canada. And I remember I got there and I went to their open house. I'm like, I think this is what I want to do, but at the same time, I don't really know. And then I went to Bible college, and being there and being in the service, I really felt like, hey, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And it's just like you said, like, you think sometimes when you're younger, you want to serve in some aspect, but you don't actually think that you would ever become a pastor. You just think, hey, I might be like a leader for someone. And then the
Right.
next thing you know, God's like, no, you're going to be leading. Like, you're going to be the one teaching other people. And so it's just crazy how that works with God and everything. And so you're also a worship leader, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
And
am.
how did that come across? I know you said earlier on you got into music a little bit. That's what you were doing, and then became a pastor as well.
Yeah, well, I was always musical. Like I was in bands and I played for churches, and I was always
Yeah.
writing music. Um, and like I said, I thought I was going to drop out of college, and what I wanted to do was just be like in a band and
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of travel around and do that. Um, so I kind of always had that about me, and then it just became my number one kind of tool for.
Hmm.
I still, I'm really particular about the language I use. Um, I'm not a worship leader. I'm a worship pastor.
Worship pastor.
because
Okay. Awesome.
because even though, I mean, we use them interchangeably, and I'm not trying to be like a weird guy that's like,
No.
no,
No. No. No.
don't call me
Yeah. Yeah.
worship
No. I
leader.
totally.
but
Honestly, I get that. I really do.
but like but I do say, even to my team, say, hey, you are worship pastors.
Hmm.
That's significant because we are leading people into an encounter with Jesus, right? Into an
That's
encounter with
right.
God,
Yeah.
and that's the pastor's responsibility. So I just
Hmm.
happen to use music for that.
Yeah.
And we're forming people's faith. So we're telling people, we're giving people tools so that they know how to talk to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Um,
And what you said just there is so profound, because there's actual a quote. I think he's a friend of yours, David Cook. I
yeah,
think he's in the band with you. And he said, and I found this and I thought it was so profound to bring up, but this is a perfect time. He said, worship leaders, pastors must value God and people more than a ministry or a song.
yeah,
What's your take on that statement? I know you already touched on it a bit, but what's your take on that? How ministry is more than just being a worship leader, worship pastor is more than just, the song or a ministry.
yeah. Well, there's plenty of great people who write songs that say beautiful things to God. Um, but I'm not really convinced that when we get to heaven, we're going to be like, God, here's all my songs
Mm,
that I wrote to you.
yeah.
Songs are supposed to be a reflection of the ministry you're doing, on earth,
Hmm.
with your communities and with your people.
Yeah.
So, like, I love Ephesians. I quote Ephesians 5 all the time. That's encourage one another, singing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, and
Hmm.
making music with your heart to the Lord. And I love that the singing happens to one another, that like when we do these songs, it's really not just about the song, but it's about the purpose of encouraging the other person or bringing the other person closer to Jesus. But, you know, if you get around worship leaders or worship leading culture, it can be, or even at your church, if you're not careful, maybe you can fall into the trap, right? Like whoever's watching, that as you are leading and going for it, you do get more concerned with the music than you do the ministering of God's presence to people, which is our first responsibility.
Yeah.
And we're passionate. Dave's one of my best friends in the planet, and he's passionate. We're passionate about continuing to, we're passionate about continuing to raise up people that have a heart for God first, and then music second.
Yeah, and I think it's so profound because the Bible talks about how you can't love God and hate people. Like it goes hand in hand. You got to love God and his people. And I've heard people tell me all the time, hey, you know, God's my all, he's my everything. And I'm like, hey, that's great. Awesome that you can say that. But are you also showing that with your actions? Like, are you treating his people the same way that you would treat God? And like you said, a lot of people, they want to write songs and they want to get into the writing process of the song, but they forget, hey, like, who's this for? Are you worshiping God, or are you trying to worship yourself and elevate yourself in your writing? No, it's so profound, like what you just said in that moment, and it makes me think. So, when it comes to like an idea or a thought comes to your mind where you feel like, hey, I think this is going to be a song. Like, what kind of happened? What's the creative process that takes place for you or the band when it comes to writing an album or pursuing a new song?
Yeah, well, we have like a process and a framework basically in place. Okay. There's things that always happen and they always kind of set it up. But it's funny because we do those things, but then what happens are the songs that really penetrate through tend to be the ones where they have like a story that happens in the margins of all that, right? But you need the framework before you can get the margin piece, right?
Right.
Like you need the sandbox before you can start building stuff in it.
Exactly.
So we do a couple times a year, we have it slated to do writing retreats. That's where we get people together, and we're getting ready to do one in June. So we're about to put out a live album in June and simultaneously go back to write another live album. Now, we don't ever stop writing. I'm in writing sessions a couple times a week, and we keep on practicing the gift and keep on committing ourselves to our personal, discipline of writing, songwriting. And then we have these times together where we will all come as a team. SEU Worship is a group of students, alumni that worship at Southeastern University's campus in our chapel services.
Yeah.
So we'll gather together in different versions. So we'll do one in June, which will be me and our worship pastors and some of our like kind of rising leaders. These are students who we'll bring to this writing camp. It'll be like a couple days. And then we'll do another one where it's more of an all call, and it's a big party. It's one of our favorite things we do all year. Wow. And we do the initial one to kind of set some culture and precedent for what that we believe God's speaking for the next album. And then the second part we do is really more to build the team. But we always get some of our best songs from that all call one, where it's just a bunch of people, and you're writing with people for the first time. You've never written with them. And you'll have someone who's never written a song, and they're in a session with someone like Dave, who's, seasoned songwriter.
Yeah.
And God just moves that way because we try and keep it sloppy a little bit,
Yeah, that's right.
Community is a little messy, and it's best that way, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
So we do those things, and then but then when it comes to picking a song, we come back to the community. It's me, Dave, Kenzie, and Sydney. We're the core pastors and artists of SEU Worship. And what I have us do is get around a room, and we all just basically don't leave until we agree on the best version of songs that come together to make a project. So it takes a long time to pick songs.
Yeah, I bet.
But we feel like it's worth the wrestle. It's worth kind of like getting in with it and getting the group consensus around it, because it makes it better. I may have a sense of commitment to an idea or a song. That doesn't mean it's the best idea or a song.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing it with the group allows us to kind of sort that stuff out. Or something could happen like what happened with our most recent single, a song called 1,000 Generations,
Yeah.
where I actually kind of gave up on the song. It's a song I wrote with Dave, and we basically had put it up on a shelf somewhere and decided it maybe wasn't worth our time to revisit.
Mm.
And then next thing you know, it's like we're in that group setting, pitching songs, and Kenzie goes, "Whatever happened to this song? It was written like 3 years ago." She's like, "I'm obsessed with it. I love it." And I'm like, I always just thought it was a song for me and not the whole, our whole chapel team.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, it's on a record. It's our lead single. So here's the 3 questions I always ask when we're picking
Yeah.
songs, and whether we should consider one for an album. So that's kind of the structure of what we do. But then here's what I kind of filter through. Does this song move me? Does this idea move me? And if the song or idea moves me, then I know that I can be like true to it, right? Like I can feel good about it. I've got my own sense of confidence behind the song. And the second thing is, does it move other people? Does it move my community of people? Mm-hmm. So showing it to my immediate community, for me, that'd be chapel, playing it in a chapel service with students. Do they respond? Is there testimony coming from us playing that song together? Right. If it gets past the first one, doesn't move me, and doesn't get past the second one, to me, it makes it clear that's God's gift to me. He gave me a song. It gets to be my personal expression to God. And if it gets past that second one, then it comes down to, let me show it to people who are outside of our community and get some feedback from them. Yeah. And if the people outside of my community are really moved by it and it ministers to them, then we can, think about putting it on a project. Okay. We do songs in chapels that don't end up on projects, Yeah. Just like a pastor will preach sermons that don't end up as chapters in a book.
That's right.
You kind of need the space to experiment and to try something and then realize, actually, that's not the best way to say this. That's not the best way to sing this. But those are some things that work for us.
Yeah. No, I thank you for sharing that, because I like the way that you shared it, but you also shared your heart and passion in it with the process, because I know sometimes we just get caught up in, you get that thought and you're like, oh, I need to write it down. This is a song. But it's like, hey, sometimes God can give you a word. Like if someone's speaking a word in a service, God can give a word to you, but that doesn't always mean the word that God gave you is for the congregation or for everyone else. It might just be just for you, but you got to like test it. And so just like you said, like when you're writing a song, yeah, that's great that it speaks to you, but then your second step, does it now minister to the people I'm surrounded by? And if it does those 2 things, now we got to take it out. And I think that's what a lot of us should do with a lot of things, not just with songwriting, but even how we live our life whenever we feel like God is speaking to us, to think, okay, God, is this my thought, or is this really you? And taking that time to really pursue him and to take the effort to take that next step, if you will.
Yeah. And God wants to use you. So I always use the language of, does it move you or does it move other people? Because I don't want to get too objective with the rules. Like I don't want it to be like, is this a good song? It's like, maybe to me it is, but maybe not to that person. But does it move me? And the reality is that's the best we can know most of the time with the song, because songs are so specific and they're so contextual.
Yeah.
I like that God wants us to do the things that we're excited about when it comes to art and creativity, right?
Yeah. So
I like that God says, I want to hear your song idea. And I want it to be not like the one you wrote because you want it to sound like A, B, and C thing, but because you just felt compelled to write this song and this idea.
Right.
And a lesson that I continually learn in my life is God's got more favor on when I'm true to myself than when I pick an idea or something because it feels like it's, I'm like, oh, this feels like it fits what's happening in worship music right now. That just never works. There's not as much blessing and favor on that as there is when you're true to yourself and your convictions.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's that trap that a lot of people fall in. I call it the comparison trap, where something's working for everyone else, so we assume, oh, it's going to work for me, but that's not always the truth. Just because something works for you that's amazing. God will honor you with that. But if I go and copy the way your sound is, and I'm like, yeah, guys, we're gonna do an amazing worship song because SEU worship did it. No, that's not true. Like, it's not always gonna work. But it brings me to my next question, and I don't know if you have the time, but who were some artists or other creatives that kind of inspired you, either growing up or even at where you are right now?
There's a lot of people in the Christian world. I was really inspired by my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Um, I'm spending a lot of time with family, so I'm like really nostalgic and
No, that's all right, man.
sentimental about my family right now. My mom and dad are a huge inspiration, and then my aunt's her name's Mary Alessi, and she's a gospel artist, and she's a huge inspiration in my life. Like she's been such a blessing. And then of course, when I was like 13 years old, I got a hold of a Hillsong live record. I think it was Mighty to Save.
Yeah.
And that led to the Savior King, which was the one that came after that.
Mm-hmm.
And that had a huge impact on me and kind of opened the door for me to write songs. But the Christian songwriter who's probably most influential is a guy named Andrew Peterson.
Okay.
Who's really, really good. He doesn't necessarily go for the congregational worship song. He just writes these songs from his heart to God.
Yeah.
And I find them extremely inspiring, even though to some people it may sound like music your parents are supposed to listen to.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, when you're curious, you get inspired by all kinds of stuff. So movies inspire me. Every day of the week, I feel like the music I'm listening to will change my inspiration. But that's some of the Christian artists that really have an impact on me. And then, I love like 2000s indie alt rock and emo music. I just listened to a lot of that growing up, and it has informed my lyrical style and guitar playing and all of that. So yeah.
No, that's good, man. I might have to start looking up.
What do you hear when you hear SEU worship? Is there something that you feel like, oh, they're pulling from this and that?
Honestly, the only, like, when I hear SEU worship, I think of Hillsong Young and Free a little bit. But then at the same time, I only think of it a little bit, but at the same time, when I stumbled on you guys many years ago, it was a sound that I never heard in other Christian worship songs or artists, if that makes sense. And so, like, whenever I'm listening to any song, like your song, 1,000 Generations, you said you wrote it 3 years ago, and it just came in now. When I heard that song, I'm like, if this song came out 3 years ago or now, it's perfect. Like the way that the sound works, the instruments that come in, it's nothing too heavy. It's nothing that's like the words all over the place and you can't understand it, but it's based off, I think, Psalm 143. And to me, it just, when I was listening to it, I'm like, God, this song, the sound, the music, the way that these guys write together, you can tell that there's unity in the team. Not saying that you don't find that with other groups, but I just find that, and I don't know, again, how, like, I know there's 4 of you guys, but I could be wrong in saying this, but to me, it sounds like you guys have been together or worked together for a longer period of time. Like, have you guys been close?
Yeah, so I've known Dave since I was like 18 years old.
Okay.
And then, so we met many years ago.
Yeah. So literally,
we've been making music for a while.
Yeah.
And Kenzie, when Kenzie first started, say hey to my dad.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going, Dad?
Fantastic. How about you guys?
Oh, doing well, man.
It's the best.
Be safe.
Thank you. You too.
And be blessed.
Oh, you too, sir.
God bless you guys.
God bless.
Bye, Dad. You have to remind me what else. So Dave and I met each other for a while, and then Ken's a special, like, her story and involvement because she started with as a student at Southeastern. I was like a senior in college, and she was a freshman, and she was coming on the team, and I remember her audition. So we all have like history, and then we continually write and make music together. So
yeah,
it keeps it tight knit. And then we're all just friends. Like, we have a group chat, and it'll fluctuate between, like, ministry related stuff, and then just like who watched The Last Dance tonight, and then
exactly.
did you hear you know, Alec Benjamin's new song or whatever. Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we were talking about influences, and I probably forgot to mention the most important thing about SEU worship, which is that we love pop music.
Mm-hmm.
So we bring a lot of that to what influences us and inspires us.
Yeah.
And we're super intentional about that, because like I said, I love the guitar. I could write
Mm-hmm.
songs from the guitar all day, but
Wow.
for us, it's fun to be in a room and write with a bunch of instruments and try and play into the pop thing.
Yeah. And that's why when I said that, because my thought was, when I hear the sound, it's definitely relevant. All the songs I hear is relevant, especially with pop music. But at the same time, like, whenever I hear your guys' songs, or I'm just listening, I'm like, I can tell that there's a sense of unity on the team, because of how knit you guys are. And I find, like, whenever I've been on a worship team in many years past, if the team is not together, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, God will still be there. But if the team isn't flowing together, it's not going to work the way that you want it to, unless there's that sense of connection, relationship building. Sometimes you got to know each other's quirks to be able to work some kinks out. But whenever I hear your music or that sound, to me, it's like there's a significance to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we just love doing it. You know,
like, and it shows, man. It really does.
And I always say, depending on what I'm watching on TV, it always comes down to, I just love people who are really good at something and are super passionate about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we love Chip and Joanna Gaines. They're just really good at what they do, and they're passionate. And that's why there's all these cooking shows I love. Just love people who are passionate.
Yeah.
And good about it. And I feel like, you know, the most blessed person in the world to be able to wake up every day and do something that I feel like God's given me a gifting for. But then more importantly, I'm just super passionate and excited to do. So even if I'm writing bad songs, I'm just like high-fiving, like, yeah, another day.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just shows, like, when you're passionate about something, you'll do whatever, whenever. Even if you fail 1,000 times, you'll still do it, because it's what you want to do. And it's what I believe in for you, that God had that on your life from the very beginning. So yeah, you keep doing what you're doing, man, because I do believe it's only the beginning for you guys, and for you personally, but also for the group as well.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, we love what we get to do. It's been great to hang with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, this is exciting. Are you doing more of these coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I have a couple more that I'm doing. One that I have in 2 weeks with a creative. He does a lot of, like, graphics for worship for churches that like to post online about worship services and things like that. So he's part of that team, kind of worked it out. And then I got a couple other people for June. I try to find really just the opportunity for someone to take that chance on me, and then to try to do it every couple of weeks. But for the fact that you took my message and responded was a huge blessing. I'm like, wow, this is an honor to be able to have this conversation with you, Dan. It really is.
Well, we love getting to do this stuff, and it's a chance to talk with somebody that's passionate about building the kingdom of God, creativity, and that's been influenced by our music. We want to, you know, be there definitely. For. Pray God's best for you. Yeah, and I hope we get to hang out or something soon. Where do you live?
So I live. Have you ever been to Canada?
Yeah, a few times. I've been to like Mount Tremblant. I went to skiing.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. Mm-hmm. Mont Tremblant is not too far from there, but I live in a city called Cambridge in Ontario.
Okay.
So I'm in the province of Ontario. But yeah, when this whole pandemic ends, man, I'll definitely make it happen, because you're in Florida.
Yeah, we're in.
Oh yeah, and I love Florida. So
Canadians love Florida, as you should. It's
no snow.
It never snows, bro.
That's right. You never have
it's February. It's like 80 degrees outside. It's
wow.
It's insane. You got some Ontario love coming through the comments.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Ontario's where it's at. Real quickly before we end, what do you think are some of your future, like, goals and ambitions for you personally?
For me personally, I'm a dad now.
Okay.
And I really want to be I want to be a great dad. Mm-hmm. I had a great dad, and I want to be a great dad to my son, Jerome.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to build and grow SEU worship so that I found my direction in life, calling, and identity, what we say is divine design. I found my divine design at Southeastern University.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to offer that opportunity for other students that come into the program and continue to write music and just hang out with college students because I love them to death, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
feel like it's my calling to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I have started working on more resources for people. I teach courses at Southeastern every semester, just one or two that pertain to worship leading.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to make more resources that help people do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Write more songs and be a great dad. I don't know. That's it. That's trying to keep it simple. Maybe lose a little bit of weight. I'm not sure. We'll see. Grow my investment portfolio. Let's just put it all out there.
That's right, man. Let's put it all out there and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Dude, you're the best, man. You really are. I'm hoping we'll be able to hang out. I really am. You're a legit guy.
I feel like it'll happen soon. We gotta make our way up to Canada eventually.
Yeah. You guys do that. Maybe I'll try to get you guys down here once the quarantine ends.
All right, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Take care and pray all the best for you and your family. All right.
Amen. You too.
All right. Peace.
Bye.